Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is out and it's being mocked and memed online, especially the campaign. I've worked at Treyarch in the past as an administrative assistant for 3 years. I'm going to share my perspective as to what I believe went wrong with Black Ops 7 through my experience working at Treyarch. So now, my name is Mustafa. I am the solo game developer of Sabr Path. As mentioned, in the past, I worked at Treyarch during the development of Black Ops 4 doing administrative assistant work. I also have experience doing QA work for another company as well as doing solo game development on my own. First, I want to make it clear, I have not played Black Ops 7. I don't really plan on playing Black Ops 7, and this is not supposed to be a review of Black Ops 7. There's a lot of talk online with this game, video clips being memed and shared online. And the two main focuses as to what's drawing negative attention are the campaign as well as the AI generated work that's used within the game. From my observation, it appears that the zombies mode as well as the multiplayer mode do bring the quality that people expect out of the Call of Duty franchise. This is because these portions of the game have been developed in-house by Treyarch. For those who are unaware, Treyarch has been collaborating with Raven Software for the past few Black Ops games. By the time I left Treyarch, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was already in development. Raven Software was collaborating with Treyarch to work on the campaign mode of that game while Treyarch works on the other modes of the game. In AAA development, splitting the project up into chunks and having different groups of people work on different parts of the game is not uncommon. Even before collaborating with Raven Software, Treyarch had their own studio split up into different teams, such as one team working on the multiplayer mode, another team working on the campaign and the zombies maps. There are difficulties when it comes to having cross-team communication when the teams aren't within the same location. Though a lot of the issues with the cross-team communication can be worked on by having all the meetings take place within Zoom or online. Raven Software actually has a very strong reputation when it comes to a single player campaign. For example, they worked on the game Singularity. While that game didn't sell well, it did review very well. They worked on the campaign for Call of Duty Cold War, which got praised for its very strong narrative and single player campaign. Same for Black Ops 6, which many people said that was one of the best single player campaigns in Call of Duty in years. But it starts to not make sense when we look at Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which is being mocked for its single player campaign. People are mocking it for its messy narrative, bringing back characters that have been dead in the series, as well as using fear hallucinations as a storytelling crutch. Many of the negative reviews talk about boring gameplay, fighting off waves of enemies that don't do anything interesting, a mission in which you're randomly teamed up with zombies and you're pushing a payload cart. And for whatever reason, the game is always online and has no checkpoints throughout the levels. If you die, you have to start all over from the beginning of the level. So how did this happen? How did Raven Software go from making great campaigns and then they make this? I do not have inside information of what happened during the development of Black Ops 7. This is all speculation going off of what my experience was like working at Treyarch. Microsoft acquired Activision back in October 2023. After that, there have been layoffs constantly throughout Activision and Blizzard. Microsoft laid off over 9,000 people. This included employees from Raven Software. Also keep in mind, Microsoft does not have a strong reputation of acquiring a studio and then doing well with it afterwards. In almost every case, when Microsoft acquires a studio, the games end up becoming worse. To me, it's a clear sign that Microsoft has bad management. Going off of that, I also imagine there are people who might have left Raven Software after not agreeing with the new management. Regardless, Black Ops 7 is the first campaign that Raven is working on entirely under Microsoft's post-restructuring management. There seems to be a speculation online that people like to spread that a lot of these studios just hire a bunch of junior developers and that's why these games don't do well. For example, I was watching a clip from the Side Scrollers podcast, and this is what Vera Dark had to say.
They don't have teams of passionate, innovative people anymore because they're firing the veterans in order to hire juniors because it's cheaper. And really, these people don't know what made Call of Duty special. They don't know how to make a good video game.
This is speculation that does not match my experience at all. From my experience, Treyarch does not like hiring junior positions. The only time I saw junior positions get filled is after the internship program was over. Once interns complete the internship program and go through the mentorship process, then usually the best performers get offered a job as a junior developer. Treyarch not hiring junior developers is actually the reason why I ended up leaving Treyarch. I was making an attempt to get hired on as a level designer and then never got hired because they just never had an opening for a junior developer. Even after learning how to use their in-house tool set and talking to the lead level designer at that time, I still wasn't able to get in because they just simply don't hire junior developers. What I did notice was that people would leave for a number of reasons. For example, I've seen developers who got fired. Some developers would leave due to disagreements with management. Some developers would just leave due to burnout of the series. And I've seen a lot of developers leave because they got poached by competitors. Specifically, I've seen many developers get poached by Riot Games because they're located very close to Treyarch. And what did Treyarch do when they lost developers? They hired more developers with experience in AAA games, but it doesn't exactly mean that they hired people with experience in games similar to Call of Duty. I've talked to many of the developers at Treyarch while I worked there, and a lot of them worked on completely different games. The point being, they are hiring people that understand AAA workflow, but not necessarily hiring people who have experience working on games exactly like Call of Duty. And this could be the same case with Raven Software. After Microsoft laid off people from their staff, that leads to a hit towards their team synergy. So whether they continued without replacing those people or they replaced them with brand new people, it results to them having a completely new team dynamic due to the fact that their team is now different. And this is a huge factor as to why the outcome of Raven's work is so different now compared to what it was in their previous projects. And let's talk about this AI artwork real quick. Black Ops 7 now includes AI artwork used in the calling cards as well as in the achievement trackers. A lot of these images use this Studio Ghibli knockoff art style. This not only is not cohesive with the rest of the game, but also looks lazy and gives a low quality feel. This isn't even about the studios not wanting to hire somebody to do artwork because they already have artists working there. When I was at Treyarch, there were lots of artists working there. They don't even need a commission artist because they literally have artists that come into work every day. So why would they want to use AI artwork? Let me explain why. When you have something in the UI, for example, an achievement tracker, you have one person who's in charge of writing the text for that achievement tracker. For this example, we'll just say that this specific achievement is get 30 headshots. So in a normal situation, the person who writes that text, get 30 headshots, will have to communicate with the artist and set up meetings and say, I need artwork that goes with this achievement that's get 30 headshots. The artist will work on the image and send it to the person who writes the text. This requires communication and going back and forth and maybe some iterations. What I can see happen is that Microsoft wants their studios to utilize Copilot within the workflow. It's very likely that they wanted to make it a mandate. And some producer at Microsoft came to the person who's writing the text and says, okay, you need to use Copilot to generate these images so you don't have to talk to this person anymore. Rather than having a back and forth between the person who writes the text and the person who does the art, now it's just one person doing everything on their own. You end up losing quality for efficiency. I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm just saying that this is a likely explanation as to what happened and why these ended up in the game. From my experience, these are signs of bad management ruining these studios. Mass layoffs end up disrupting talent. When you remove people at mass, it affects everybody. The new team needs to learn how to get by with the new structure and the new team dynamic. There's a large chance that they lost key players, people who know certain things, and it alters the team synergy. The potential of Microsoft putting in a mandate to use Copilot and AI clearly shifts the priority from being creative to being efficient. Seeing these large AAA studios struggle due to mismanagement, especially after a huge company such as Microsoft acquiring them, is not a good sign for the overall health of the AAA game industry. I don't see this as a game industry crash, but I do see this as an overall restructuring of what the game industry is going to be like in the next 10 years. These large publishers such as Microsoft, Sony, Ubisoft, they're all getting too big to handle everyone that's underneath them. Anyways, let me know what you think about the situation. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching the video. Take care, Saddam.